What makes a guardian a guardian? A fairly simple seeming question. Could it be the cosmic powers that they wield at will? The vast amount of weaponry that they use? The heroism to fight even the most dangerous foes? Even gods? Or could it be the need to feel your enemy's bones cracking, your fists against their face, their blood running down your armor, and their body breaking beneath your boots, and the knowledge that you were the one who put them there? Welcome, one and all, to the Great Hunt! Now, the rules of a hunt are simple. The rules of the hunt are simple. I must eliminate every enemy variant of every faction and sub-faction in the entire universe. Rule 2. Every kill must be clean. By this, what I mean is that it must be clear that I have killed this enemy. If they're killed by someone else or by a teammate, then it doesn't count. Rule 3. Raid bosses and raid-specific enemies don't count. I know that they are unique enemy variants, but it would take far too long to do. That's a simple explanation. I may do a completely different video way down the line where I actually do hunt the raid bosses, but for this video, we're not going to do that. The first faction that we are going to be hunting is the Fallen. Now, the Fallen have this many, see them on your screen now, of different enemy variants. So, because of this, what happened to my voice? Wow! Because of this, our journey will start where most people's journeys start, Earth. My hunt begins as I trace my way through the Cosmodrome, and I happily pause to see a level 1 Guardian, which is something that you don't see very often. I'm glad this game still has new players. I hear gunshots and I race towards the action, and am disappointed to find that all of my potential targets have been killed. Fuck. In search for prey, I go underground into this little bunker area, and unfortunately discover a large group of hive. I will save this location for later. I hear a fallen ship enter atmosphere and go to investigate, and once again find that my prey has been taken from me. This is going to be a bit more annoying than I thought. Thankfully, another ship comes in, and after watching it carefully, the shank is the first of my trophies. This little fella down here joins shortly after. It is time for dinner. I make my way through some strange abandoned ruins of some strange building that I don't know the purpose to, and encounter this vandal. I am going to eat this one as well. I've put too much thought into what I think Fallen would taste like, because they're very insect-like. So it stands to reason that they'd be like quite crunchy, right? But they're also quite big. But like, even though they're insect-like, they don't really have like exoskeletons. So would they really just be like more chewy? These are the questions that need to be asked. Okay, so my next plan was, I'm gonna try and find a lost sector, because there's a big group of enemies. But on my way of just sort of walking there, I encounter this marauder and kaboom! He is the next on the mantelpiece. I stare down the servitor with a revolver that has a chamber of 30 bullets. Or more. Because I use Envious Assassin and Substance. So I have an endless supply of bullets. Also, watching the servitor explode, I have no idea which part of it I'm going to take as a trophy. These wretches kind of just line up and volunteer themselves to a shooting gallery, so I guess they're next on the list. And I'm happy to find that these exploding shanks are next. Again, back to my point with the servitor, I have no idea which part of this I'm going to take home as a trophy. There's none of it left, it went kaboom! The next up on the menu is this heavy shank. I entirely forgot that these enemies existed, so I'm so happy I encountered this one here, because otherwise I would have missed it completely, and I would have remembered at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I would have been awake for hours. Whilst attempting to find the elusive fallen captain, I find these bones of a long-dead adventurer. I'm going to break them open and use the marrow to make a stew. I make my way through this old... thing? Does anyone know what this building actually is? And, kind of just for fun, I immobilize this dreg from the waist down. I can't explain this. Suddenly, the captain is in sight, and I am going to destroy him. After he is dead, I make sure that he is added to the stew. Do not question my eating habits. Now, there are a few enemies that I just simply couldn't find in the Cosmodrome. I am not going to leave in the footage of me looking around, I'm just going to tell you what I did next. I launched up the Devil's Lair Strike, because I still needed to find a brig, a walker, and a tracer shank. I somewhat remembered them being in this strike, and lo and behold, they were. I made quick work of the brig, and of the walker. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I am hunting vehicles. I don't have an answer, but if I'm hunting robots, so vehicles, that's not too far of a stretch, right? Like that makes sense. For nothing other than fun, I also kill Sepix Prime. I know it's just a big servitor, so it's not really a unique enemy, but I really, really like this strike, and I didn't want to leave halfway through. I was unable to find the Tracer Shank, so the next order of business was to go to the strike where you go into Rasputin's bunker. I don't remember the name, I never have. Now, I planned on doing this strike last, because Saber 2 is a unique enemy. Sure, it looks like a heavy shank, but it's outfitted in a way, but it's different, so that makes it a unique enemy, so it goes on the board. I joined this strike about halfway through, so the very first enemy I encountered was a Tracer Shank. So I felt very good about myself. Well, would you look at that? Sepix 23. It will join its predecessor in its eternal rest. Alright, it's Saber time, baby! I make mincemeat at a Saber 2, and I am happy to say that my fallen bingo card of extinction has been completed. For the most part. Because you see, I said I was hunting factions and sub-factions. And, well, what I've been hunting for the most part are fallen from, the House of Dusk. However, there is a completely different fallen house in the solar system that I could be hunting. So I hope you've wrapped up warm, because we're going to Europa, baby! The perfect place for snowboarding! This Shank, Servitor, Vandal, and Dreg or quickly meet the bad end of the gun. This lured me into the false sense that it would be really easy to find what I'm looking for here on Europa, and it really, truly was not. These enemies hid everywhere. Like, there's a good bit of footage of me just going through Reese Reborn, not finding anything. Like, it was just full of Vex, which I somehow forgot were also on Europa. But it's Reese Reborn, it's where the Fallen should live, right? Like, it wasn't silly of me to go there. I was very happy to find these very special looking House Salvation Captains. I killed one to put on the mantelpiece and killed the other one for fun. Whilst exploring Reese Reborn, like I said earlier, where I just sort of wandered about for 20 minutes, I was happy to find this big guy. This big guy is special because he is a stasis wielder. And stasis wielders are a unique enemy variant, so you better believe I'm cooking up this little frozen guy, and I'm going to enjoy his organs. That went so much darker than I was expecting. What happened to me? Beep-a-dee-ba-dee, 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 beep-beep. I wandered around Europa for a long time trying to find the other enemies on my Extinction Bingo card. Finally, I had the idea to launch the exotic mission Stealing Stasis, one of the best looking exotic missions for one of the worst guns ever designed in the game. This was a good idea, as I was quickly met with a Tracer Shank, Exploding Shank, a whole bunch of wretches. I almost blew myself up on this Ether Exploding Barrel, and a Heavy Shank. I steal the worst fucking gun in the game. Like, I can't emphasize how bad of an exotic heavy this is. After I steal it, the alarms go off, and I'm confronted with this big old brig that I also destroy. I do the last part of this mission because I like the really big brig fight. Like, it's not on the list because I've already taken out a Salvation brig. And it is pretty much just the same but bigger. But I really, really like the fight. So I did it. Now, for those of you paying attention, you've probably noticed that I'm missing 3 enemy variants that I haven't found yet on Europa. And that is correct. I am missing a Salvation Marauder, a Salvation Walker, and a Duskfield Shank. These, as far as I know, can't be found on Europa. So, we're off to the planet that everyone forgets about, Nessus. There is a strike on Nessus that has been recently updated to include the House of Salvation instead of the House of Dusk, and in it I can find the 3 enemy variants that I couldn't find on Europa. I'm genuinely surprised by this Salvation Marauder. Either my eyesight's getting worse, or their invisibility is getting better. And you can see my panic as I sort of like wildly fire, gunning him down, sort of by accident, but I'm counting it anyway. On this pleasant little drive, I happily encounter a Salvation Walker, and I lose my fucking mind. I mean, I came at this thing with a sword. It's a tank with legs, am I insane? And at the very end of the mission, I happily encounter this Duskfield Shank, adding it to the bingo card. Again, I do the boss fight mostly out of fun, and also because I want to break its bones. quick sort of like, this guy's fashion, I want to shout it out because this looks really good. Like, I also got the like Star Wars crossover, and I find it really hard making the armor match with pre-existing exotic armor pieces, but this looks really good. And with this strike complete, I finally have species extermination bingo. I go back to the tower, and I hope that I've made Crucible Papa proud by adding the entire Elixni race to the endangered species list. Side note, this was a really fun video to do, and I hope to do one for every single faction in the game. And I mean every single faction. I am dreading getting to the Vex, because there's like 3 separate Vex factions, but within those Vex factions there are like sub-factions of like different looking Vex, and I'm worried, do I have to include them? Because if I do, then I need to do fucking Vault of Glass, which means I need to get a team together so I can get them, but then I may have to do Atheon, which will make me want to do the other raid bosses. Why am I like this?